Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Neo Tokyo official podcast, Interlinked. Today, we are joined by my co host, Jared. Ben is caught up in a little holiday traveling, so it's going to be the two of us today. And we've got on a very special guest. We've got Ryan from Virtue Poker. Before we dive into that, we're going to get a quick note from our sponsors. Introducing Shrapnel, a team made of AAA gaming legends and blockchain developers. They were spun out of HBO. They've won a BAFTA. They've won Emmys and 40 other entertainment awards. You'll recognize their work as it includes Halo, Call of Duty, BioShock, Westworld, and over 30 other titles, all while reaching over 100 million fans. They're building a competitive, multiplayer, first-person shooter which allows you to create, trade, and own your own created content. If you're as excited to play this game as I am, then you're going to need to pick up an extraction pack, which is currently available on their website. So hop on in there, check them out, see if an extraction pack is right for you, and you can find them on shrapnel.com. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Playa3ull Games. They are inspired by gamers and funded by their community. They have a epic game on the Epic Games Store, a third-person shooter called Nexus. Hop on in there and check that out. They're also currently selling nodes, so if you're interested, check that out at their website, playable.games. That is a 3 instead of a B on Playable. Now strap in for the rest of this episode of Interlinked. And now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan from Virtue Poker for a little introduction.
Yeah, so just a little bit about me. So I got into the Web3 slash blockchain space in August 2015 when Ethereum launched. I joined Consensus shortly after that, was one of the first 20 employees there. And at the time was just looking for some use cases for how to apply the tech. So I was always super into poker since I was like 12. And got into building out Virtue Poker, which in its original form was a blockchain-based decentralized poker site that used Ethereum for payments and a peer-to-peer card shuffling protocol for gameplay. Fast forward a few years, we built that out. We had it licensed by the Malta Gaming Authority. We launched it finally in May 2021. It took a long time to figure out how to address some of the scalability concerns of Ethereum, plus making it legal in the sense of taking the regulatory approach to launching it. And we operated that for about 2 years, and unfortunately really couldn't find a way to make it commercially successful. There's just too few markets we could go after, too much friction for users to come onto the app. And the selling propositions, let's say, of the software wasn't strong enough to really try to attract users from competitor sites like PokerStars or GG Poker, which had been around for 20 years. So we then moved into a play to earn direction. We did that for about 8 months. I actually got a patent issued for that in the US, so we could launch it here. And similar but different problem. We were able to get a good amount of users on the platform, but it wasn't a financially sustainable model. Everyone expected to win, and obviously, if everyone expects to win, it was just kind of coming out of our pocket at the end of the day. We couldn't get the full play to earn model to work. So I made the tough decision in the late fall of 2022, about a little over a year ago, to just totally scrap the entire software and take the project in a new direction. So what I had noticed was a trend of lots of various NFT communities playing poker games to create engagement among community members, and having monthly or bi-weekly poker nights. And it was an interesting kind of realization that this was very similar to what exists in poker as like the club model, which there's Club GG or Poker Bros. So building software where people create their own games and their own clubs and invite users to play. And I saw an opportunity to take Virtue in that direction where we could still be in the Web3 space by building token gated clubs and events for these types of communities to play, but also making it commercially viable by eventually getting into what is a pretty large market in the poker industry, which is this club poker based business. So we finally relaunched that about 2.5 months ago, really still mostly in beta. We've done a few events for the Neo Tokyo community, Central Games. We're running this online satellite series for ETH Denver. And really, we had a lot of various communities reach out to us, and we're really going to start getting going in January in this direction. So that's the somewhat short version of kind of where we came from and where we are today.
Yeah, a ton of good stuff to dig into there. Jared, certainly will be great to, sort of get your perspective around the legal piece of it. There's a lot to dig through there. Curious, what was the big attraction to you personally to the poker space? There's been a few different iterations that you walked us through there, but all sort of around that theme. Would love to, sort of get your story on how you came to that space.
Yeah, sure. So like it really started by going on 2+2, which is like a very popular online poker forum. And they had a dedicated thread on Bitcoin for online poker all the way back in 2015. And generally kind of what that told me was first and foremost, like this global community of poker players was far more willing to foray into new kind of technologies such as using cryptocurrency. So I thought that while this space would take some time to evolve, gambling would be one of the first industries to be able to adopt the tech. And it really has become quite widespread. Like America's Card Room, which is an offshore site, and Bovada, which is another offshore site. The majority of their deposits and withdrawals are now done using cryptocurrency, also to get around some banking restrictions in the US. But that was one reason. The other reason was I thought that there was issues in the poker world with regards to trust and transparency, with regards to security of funds. So there had been a couple of scandals, most famously like Absolute Poker and Ultimate Bet, where these sites were both dishonest, both from the security of the software and from the fund management side. So I thought that was like a perfect use case for blockchain tech, and that's what really kind of those two things got me really going way back in the day.
Well, absolutely. It's sort of a reoccurring theme when you're talking to a bunch of different people in the space. I would say more than almost anything else, like poker got a lot of people into crypto.
For sure. And it kind of went both ways, though, which was really interesting to see. Like a couple of the pros that we partnered up with over the course of the years didn't start out as like super like crypto fanatics, but very much today have a majority, like a large part of their net worth in it. And it's a really interesting type of kind of overlap where uh, especially really strong poker players, they see edges in trading patterns, right? And that's really what they're doing and coming into the space. Obviously, a lot of them do the more long-term hold, but it's pretty funny to get into some conversations with them over their different trading strategies.
Yeah, I bet you'd get some good nuance there. I've been on the different sort of like perspective. I had never actually really played poker. I think I actually learned to play poker in 2023. And have been using it more than anything to practice trading. So trying to figure out like, okay, you hang in there up until this point until then minimize your losses, being able to like the hardest thing for me in trading is cutting losers.
Yep.
And if you're not cutting losers in your hands in poker, you're going to be out of chips pretty quick.
Yeah, it's a very similar just to like, implied odds, pot odds, and taking like based on, what your hand is, what you think the likelihood of success is, and valuing that against the money in the pot, right? It's a very similar type of methodology.
Yeah, not to mention, when there's no sort of new liquidity coming into the space, I always imagine every NFT project and like small market crap crypto coin is like just a game of however many holders it might be, 5,000 say, just all sitting around a table, essentially like, trying to bluff and
It is kind of a zero-sum game too, for certain markets, so it's like very similar.
yeah, a ton of parallels. You made a few different iterations throughout sort of Virtue Poker's journey. I'm curious how things been going since reaching this most recent iteration, the token gated.
Yeah, for sure. So like there was a few key learnings that kind of came from um let's say the failures of the past, the trials and errors of the past. So from the real money perspective, the first and foremost thing that I really didn't want and to kind of have happen was to say no to potential customers, say no to users. So first off, having to restrict all of Western Europe, the United States, from using the application, I was like, this is already like a non-starter for the new direction. The second thing was it needed to be really simple to use, to sign up and to be able to access games. So our previous app was a downloadable desktop client. It sounds obvious, now saying it out loud, but that type of friction alone is already a deal breaker for a lot of new people who would come in to try the app out. The third thing would be most of the Web3 space has become like web apps, browser based. It just works more easily with MetaMask or very Wallet Connect and things like that. You're starting to see some mobile apps like Friend.tech and things like that start becoming popular, but being a native web app has a lot of advantages by being able to be both mobile and desktop without having to have people jump through hoops. And then the third thing was to attract communities instead of attracting individual users. So having a strategy that allowed us to scale a user base like far faster and be more mass market than like our old iteration. So now instead of trying to create large marketing promotions with big guarantees and trying to use that to attract people to come to the app one by one, we go to various partners and communities and say, hey, would you like to host a tournament with us? They then go out, be our kind of our spearhead and talk to their communities and get a good amount of them to come on board. And most of the time, these communities are the ones putting up the majority of the prize money for their events. So by kind of taking those basic key learnings, it's allowed us to, we're probably going to cross the number of users that we had next month in what, 3 months versus 3 years.
Wow.
This should give you an idea. We'll cross 10,000 new accounts like in 3.5 months. So now the monetization per user is not the same as people coming in, depositing money and playing and us generating rake. But what I really wanted to try to do with this like new kind of face of Virtue is to be a product that lots of people use, that scales really quickly, that is unique and different in the market, versus trying to just kind of say that, well, we use crypto, right? And have that be the main selling point. Because one of the other things that I discovered was people were far more attracted to just the prize money we put up than caring about how the software worked. You get a few people say, oh, it's really cool that everyone shuffles the deck for each hand on the platform. And it's cool that we can see our transactions on Etherscan, but PokerStars has the Sunday Million. Like I'm gonna go do that. So yeah, there are a lot of kind of trial and error, a lot of things that have kind of gone into this version that have so far worked out really well.
Yeah, maybe this is a good opportunity just to walk me and Jared and the audience through, we're a community, Jared and Nick NFT, and we want to, use Virtue Poker to set up, some games for our community. We reach out to you. What's sort of the overall sort of like life cycle? What's the journey there?
Yeah, so I mean, right now, I'm getting on calls with communities and walking them through the software. Really, it's designed to be self-serve. Like it's really easy to kind of anyone to come in and create their own event, but eventually we'll get there. So in terms of like the process, you come in, you can create an account with an email or a wallet. You click create tournament. Can I screen share actually? I could just show it live.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
And yeah, you can see I logged in here with the wallet. You can come to the lobby. You can see in this lobby any tournament that anyone who is on the platform has created. So right now, the Central Games is pretty active, so you see their events. But you can come in here and create a tournament. So as you said, you're new to poker, so a lot of people who want to set up a poker tournament don't really know offhand how to create like blind structures. So or really what it comes down to is you want a tournament to play relatively based on time. Like how long do you want the thing to play? So we abstracted all that
Mm.
out. So this is like our quick setup tool. So you can just select the tournament. You can even say, okay, how many players do I think will play? All right, if I have 200 people playing my event at this speed, it'll play in about 4 hours. I want it to be a little bit quicker, or I want it to be a little bit slower. So we have this kind of quick setup tool. For those who are like purists and really want to create every single individual level, you can come in here and set each level. So let's say I want my blinds to be really slow. You can update all the time. You can update any field inside here. And then once you've done that, this is like the secret sauce. That this is the thing that's definitely gotten a lot of communities excited. Is the ability to token gate it. So if you wanted to create a tournament on another poker app right now that allows this kind of more B to B to C type model, then you create a tournament and you can password protect it, but it's the internet. So you create a password protected tournament, anyone can share that password with anyone else. So what most communities have to do is create some other form of verification. So when you register for this tournament, use your Discord name in Neo Tokyo, or when you register for this tournament, use the email that's on our email list. So that was one of the pain points that I noticed that made running events like cumbersome. You could talk to John Does, who ran the Bets for Bytes and Neo Tokyo all last year about all the manual work that he had to put in. So instead, what you can do is you can select. Right now, we're on Ethereum, BSC chain, Solana, Polygon, Arbitrum, Optimism, Pulse Chain we just added. We're going to look to add Avalanche, but you come in here and then you can just say, okay, our token's VPP. So anyone who wants to play my tournament has to own one token or 1,100 tokens or 1,000
Wow.
tokens. We have our token is bridged onto BSC chain. So we can also say, okay, anyone who owns 1,000 tokens on either network can come in and play our event. Or you can use an NFT contract. So really anything EVM based is really easy for us to add. That's why we've added so many of those, but we also work on Solana. And then you can come in here and you can customize your tournament page. You can change the logo. Let's see if I have the Neo Tokyo logo offhand here somewhere. This isn't going to be the best one, but it shows the point. I'd get one that doesn't have a background image. But you can customize your club page, your tournament page, and then you can come in here and you have your tournament. And one of the things that I always loved about like Zoom is, when you want someone to join your Zoom, you just share a link. So you can come in here, pop the link over. I can send it to you guys. Where's the chat on Zoom? Here we go. And then you guys can click on your computer so you can see. Oh, it's not going to let me send to you guys. Anyway, there we go. I sent the link to you. So you can share it with your community easily, and boom. All they have to do is set up create an account using the wallet that owns the BPP in this example, and then they can register for the event. So you can see here we say, okay, in order to join this tournament, make sure that you've added a wallet to your account that holds 1,000 tokens. So that's basically like the product that's being used most right now. We're just kind of getting people started on getting them to create clubs. So it's the same kind of concept, but the difference is inside a club, you can build your own kind of poker schedule. You can build your own lobby
Mhm.
inside your club, and you can gate the club or password protect the club if you want, but then gate individual events. So yeah, it's super simple. It's easy to use, and Right now it's chain agnostic, and we're trying to just get anyone who wants to host an event to come and try us out.
Yeah, that's super badass. I love the customization. I mean, just the multi-chain like that it'll pick up sort of tokens on like multiple chains is like very cool. You don't really like see that in most like token gated like areas. So I can definitely see why, that's catching on because that was like I think sort of a Discord meta that, you very accurately like sort of told that had sort of gripped the space where everyone was looking for ways, how do we, more cement our community? And a lot of people reached for things like poker as a way to do that.
Exactly. And that was pretty much like thesis number one with me going in this direction was I'm just the entire Web3 ecosystem is an aggregation of various smaller sub communities, right? And these communities are centered around a token or an NFT or some form or a discussion on gaming tokens, right? Like in Neo Tokyo. But there's better ways to kind of socialize, engage, especially and entertain your community than just Discord chat. And that was kind of the first kind of thesis that I had, which is that poker is a really great way to get a bunch of people together to engage online.
Yeah, I'd love to transition into the regulatory piece of this. Jared, you want to kick things off on that side?
Yeah, sure. And part of this reminds me, I know a lot of the larger banks, especially recently, and I've had clients come to me in the past where their Chase account, Bank of America, some of the larger banks have literally shut down their accounts for various reasons. Whether they consider it immoral, right? Immoral, or even most recently this past year, there's been a lot of attorneys general, I think 19 of them across the country that are going after Chase for, what they're saying is political reasons. And Chase is relying on, OFAC, and a lot of these people are getting donations. And, they said, we'll reopen it if we get a list of your donors. And a lot of this sort of leads directly into what you're talking about, and why you would want to move from the banks and into crypto. It makes things a lot easier. Obviously, there's no central authority on Ethereum that's going to come in and shut down what you're doing, which is great, in my opinion. And so I want to talk about that. And obviously here in the United States, you've got to deal with the federal regulations and also the state regulations. So kind of walk through that, if you don't mind, some of that, and some of your initial, sort of issues and discussions you had with that. I think that would sort of be fascinating for a lot of people who, may be interested in learning about that, or may even have a project of their own like this that they want to open up, and, sort of give your take on that. And, especially here in the United States, and obviously, since you're dealing with it across the world, talk about that as well.
Yeah,
My
for sure.
expertise is here in the United States, but I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So, have a lot of experience with lots of various lawyers in multiple countries, both here and in Europe specifically. So, like from the real money side of things, we went ahead and I believe we're still the only business that ever got a gaming license from the Malta Gaming Authority. And generally speaking, the main type of issue is first off, every single country has different types of regulation regulating online gaming. The strategic reason of taking an approach of domiciling in Malta and getting a license there is that it's an EU member state, so you have broad access to any EU member state that doesn't have its own specific regulatory structure for gaming. So that's why what became a huge hub for companies like us, and I mean every major gaming company has an arm in Malta or used to be Gibraltar or Isle of Man. So that's like kind of piece number one. Unfortunately, over the last 10 years, especially even since I got started on this, a lot of European countries have moved ahead and started regulating online gaming individually, country by country. So if you're a big billion-dollar company, no problem. Just send your team of lawyers, go figure out the application, get your license. You'll probably get a cease and desist from that country first, and then you have time to apply for the license to then kind of reactivate. So all the behemoths who have already been established, no problem for them, right? But for companies like us, I noticed that trend early on after we got our license in Malta, that I was like, this is just going to continue to get worse. In the United States, it's the same thing. So right now, I think it's 6 states, and soon to be seven, have created their own structure, regulatory structure for online gaming. Think of the United States like Europe, where every single state has its own laws, right? The federal government doesn't really apply right now. It's really, and it's also based on the enforcement action that each state takes. So they might have something that says this is illegal or this is frowned upon, but if they haven't taken any action, generally speaking, it's like lower risk versus something like Washington State, which is by far the worst in the country. So the problem with trying to take the regulated approach for real money gaming right now is that all of this regulatory fragmentation makes it prohibitively expensive, pretty much impossible for any startup to try to really take like a totally above board approach. And then with regards to like financial institutions, like the UIGEA in the United States makes it legal to process payments in relation to gambling activity besides fantasy sports. And that was where DraftKings was born, by the way. Just a weird little loophole. And the issue with that is that most financial institutions now have kind of taken the approach where if you have a license in a state, then they'll work with you. Otherwise, there's just no way to process money using any kind of existing traditional financial structure. So that's why these offshore companies, like I mentioned earlier, like Bovada and America's Card Room, that's why most of their transactions are done using crypto. Even if you, though, take the approach where your transactions are in crypto, you don't get the licenses, you say the hell with it, then you're just taking a big risk where it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. So damned if you do, meaning if you scale and you become huge, right? Then all of a sudden the individual states, you have 50 different kind of regulatory bodies that could go after you. You have the federal government, God forbid, and you could get accused of money laundering or racketeering or lots of different bad federal charges by processing payments in relation to gambling. So that's why there's such a high risk if you live in this country, specifically if you live here too, to take a non-regulated approach, even if you're circumventing the existing kind of financial system. I can go on forever about this, but this was carefully designed though with what we're doing with Virtue, so that we're not directly processing payments in the app itself. What we're doing is we're creating an open platform that is allowing whoever comes to it to determine how they'd like to use the software, right? I'll leave it at that. Otherwise, need to do edits. But that's kind of the way that we're able to take this more broad market approach. And I see a lot of people on crypto Twitter shout out various companies that they think is going to be the next big thing. First off, if your token's profit sharing, your token's a security, good luck to you. Second thing, if you don't have your name attached to something, that means you also have no blowback if you want to run off with everyone's money. So good luck with that too. And I say to your listeners, don't get fooled by that. Third thing is, even if your people's names are attached to it, let's say they live offshore, you could probably get a competitor that's more of a crypto Web3 native type company that's taking the America's Card Room approach. Those people better not step off a plane in any country that has extradition to the United States, because then they're toast. To give you an idea, Isai Shinberg, founder of PokerStars, 10 years ago, got indicted by the federal government, steps off a plane in Switzerland, immediately taken back to the United States and arrested. So like, that's what you got. Like, people, it's not like the DOJ just is asleep at the wheel. So that's why when I see a lot of these different gambling companies, again, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I explained why going regulated is so hard and why going unregulated is so risky. So yeah, that's the whole legal stuff on that.
No, look, trust me, I understand how daunting some of that is. And, props to you for actually going out and doing it. And, I think that's some of the hardest things, especially like you said, is security. There's so many issues of Web3 and where it's going. And, we're not quite there yet, and those answers haven't been answered yet, especially here. Well, actually, both. I've talked about the EU and the United States, a very similar structure where you've got the individual countries in the EU and you've got the individual states here that it's just so many regulatory hurdles that you have to get through. But again, props to you, and it's an amazing story to get even where you are today, knowing all those hurdles you had to jump through. That's awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And that doesn't even kind of get into the hurdles that you kind of touched on with regards to like AML and KYC. That was
Oh
a
yeah.
real pain that we had to go through when we were licensed, which was people, especially in Web3, don't like really giving up their government issued ID to some Web3 platform, right? So that's like strike one in terms of like pissing off your users. And then number two, with regards to AML. I definitely don't think that there's as high a risk in gambling versus exchanges for that. Like, but they put us in the same bucket, so we have the same type of scrutiny, and that's just a real pain in the ass for any small startup to have to deal with.
Yeah, well, we're coming to the beneficial ownership information through FinCEN. That's going to be a nationwide thing that's coming next week, and the documents haven't been put out yet. That's a whole nother issue that's coming. Basically, if you own a small business in the United States, you're going to have to report the beneficial owners information to FinCEN, and it's just another hurdle that's coming, and it's more and more reason why crypto is sort of the answer to a lot of these things, and or getting it regulated and properly, but.
Yeah,
I really think it's interesting, and the Malta piece is, fascinating. I know a lot of people that like to go there because it is an EU, an EU country, and I think that's a great way to get your foot in the door. And that was, very smart of y'all to set it up like that.
yeah, for sure. I would say one of the nicest thing, like the biggest thing that comes with being a regulated app is the ability to partner with payment processors, right? And be able to plug
Mhm.
into that existing system. But the more each kind of cycle, you see the number of wallets go up, the number of people who hold crypto go up, the less and less important it is to have the on and off rail embedded in your application. And that's, I think, a huge kind of leg up that you get in terms of being able to have a global payment network, right? That just comes, that no one controls, that kind of comes in, you can plug into your app. And when more people own crypto, more people can be customers, right? So that's kind of one simple heuristic to think of.
Yeah, no, it's great. And as Cryptotheus was talking about earlier, man, I remember the first getting into Discords and playing poker. It was like the best times. It was so much fun. The chats and who's going to win, and it's great. I mean, it's I think again one of the biggest parts of Web3 is literally every Discord group I was in had some sort of weekly, monthly poker game.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm hoping to get into every single one of those as quickly as we can next year. And yeah, one of the other kind of interesting things I've noticed just kind of early on here in this like I guess V3 virtue is you get a lot of people playing in these events who are like, I haven't played poker or online poker in a long time, right? So it's almost kind of reactivating or bringing in new people into like the poker market, right? And that's the thing I think is most exciting where you have a lot of these different kind of iterations of poker, right? Real money, social, club, etc., that have been around for a long time. But with this kind of unique model and this approach, you're getting a lot of like that more social, but with something on the line kind of thing, right? Like we had someone run an event to give away waitlist slots. We've had events, we're having this event for a crypto conference, right? Trying to activate their ETH Denver community members during the months outside of the actual 1 week of the conference, right? Um, we're about to announce a media company in January who is going to be using it to engage with their email newsletter subscribers. Actually, several media companies are kind of coming through with that. So it's just an interesting kind of, and that's kind of the goal as a startup is to find that niche to get started and to try to land and expand from there.
Yeah, well, I think what you identified is, just the opportunity that's available in the community making space. Just all, whether it be cryptocurrency communities, NFT communities. Now there's so many gaming communities. just with sort of the rise of people interacting online, being able to have like sort of these decentralized events, I just think are going to be more and more sought after.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm hoping to try to get a few DAOs to work with us. Really, what I'd love to is to get a few more of the project founders and NT to take a stab at hosting an event using us. But I know a lot of them. Everyone has their own priority list, right? And if whenever the kind of circles back to like, all right, let's do something for the community online, like that's when I hope it's just they think of us, right? But to your point, I think that engage. I would say that we did a really poor job of this during the bear market of figuring out ways to keep our players engaged while we were doing this rebuild, and you just lose a lot of people, right? Just kind of being able to get those touch points to show people that you're there, to show people that you care, right? Is really important for not only kind of maintaining the current community that you have, but also fostering growth. And that's kind of one thing I hope to aim to do using this software for, a lot of the new projects and current projects that are going to come back into the fold with this next cycle that, we all hope is coming very soon that we're hopefully we're at the beginning of.
Yeah, well, it's also just an interesting dynamics. I almost imagine there's like an perhaps increased interest during the bull, but during the bear is where all these teams are grinding to try and figure out ways to keep like the community together. So, of all the different projects that we talked to, I think one of the things that's so interesting about yours is there might be even reason to be more bullish when things are bearish because of all the people. Like when things are bullish, you don't really have to like twist people's arm to come and check in on the Discord. You get people popping up in NT that are all like, "Oh, I haven't been here in 2 years. How do I stake?" Like,
Yeah.
so no, very interesting there. I'd love to get an idea of, you had mentioned throughout the demo, the token, the VPP, I believe is the ticker. How does that integrate into the overall project and the overall vision?
Yeah, for sure. So right now, initially, there's going to be two iterations of it. So one is how we're currently using it, and then two is going to be how I aim to use it in the future. So currently, right now, we are one of many clubs, right, and on the app, right. So I'm just gonna go back to the club lobby here. So right now, in order to join and play in Spork DAOs, you need to own some Spork. For us, we have the password protected, and then individual events are going to require VPP. For the Neo Tokyo, you're going to have, a state citizen, S1, S2, or own some bytes. So right now in the early iteration, in order to access and play in our events, you need to hold anywhere from 500 to 10,000 BPP for the more exclusive events with the higher prizes. In addition, one thing that I also didn't show is we created in the app this mechanism to, let's say, gate access to an event through what we call token transfer. So this feature here, I can say, okay, in order to play in our event, I don't have the contract address. I got the BSC one. There we go. In order to play in this tournament, you need to send 1,000 BPP to the burn address, which is just the 0x dead. So we can make it so that in order to play in certain events, players need to burn tokens in order to access. So we can create a burning mechanism on top of a holding mechanism. And thinking of this kind of V1 as like the ability to access all the events and prize money that we put up, right? So that's kind of exciting, not terribly exciting, right? So the second iteration of where we want this to go is as we grow and scale and we get more and more communities onboarded onto the app, you can think of this club lobby as a collection of, let's say, 50, 100, or hundreds of various clubs running thousands of events any given month. So what our plan is to do is to allow users to take their VPP, burn it to buy our Poker Dog NFTs, which are actually the avatars that you'll see in the app. That is just kind of a preview. We already made them. We just haven't actually minted them yet. And you can think of it, those NFTs as like a class pass for poker. So what we will do in kind of negotiating with a lot of these communities is say, it's not like we're going to say you have to reserve a gazillion slots for our players, but a select number of seats for each of these individual tournaments will have to go to the poker dog holders. So you can think of it as over time, the more and more events that we have, the more value that those holders will get by being able to access the various events that other people put on. And most of these communities are putting up some type of, like, maybe one of their tokens, one of their NFTs. So that's where things get a bit more exciting. And the one thing that I also learned to kind of caution, the reason why I'm not like shouting this from the hilltops to our own community members, I've kind of alluded to the idea is introducing utility for the coin is always better when the utility exists versus just promises of the future. So we could evolve in a way where there is a more obvious form of utility that is going to be directly impactful, or more, what I really think is there's going to be a point in time where it'll be strategic to launch these NFTs and be able to show the value we can just show instead of talk about it. So that's something that we plan on doing with VPP in the future. But outside of those two initial use cases, we're still looking to add a few more, such as being able to burn VPP to get special NFT avatars in the app, things like that we put out. You can burn VPP to get access to a GTO wizard integration, things like that would give you real-time feedback on your hand performance. All of these things become more valuable as we get more users using the app day in and day out, right? So I could list 20 different things that I think could be cool for VPP. But more importantly for us right now is to scale and then introduce those kind of other utility items as we go along.
Oh, that's great. And can you talk a little bit more about the tokenomics? I know you said that it was a play to earn for a little while, and you've sort of sort of pivoted from that. Talk about the tokenomics of VPP. I know you talked about the burning mechanism. Talk about the total diluted supply and all the things like that. I think that'd be interesting to hear as well.
Yeah, for sure. So we originally minted 500 million tokens way back in 2018. So that's like the top level supply. And then over the course of 2021, we did a safe plus token warrant round. So between and we also did an IDO through Superfarm that we used to kind of kickstart the launch of the app in May 2021. So right now we have about 20,000 holders. We have a little more than, actually closer to 150 million VPP is the circulating supply. We are trying to get it updated on CoinMarketCap. And then the majority of the tokens, 100 million of those tokens were reserved for our super early backers, and then me and my co-founder from 2016 haven't sold a token. I can plug that in on this, I guess, since I got started. Not until we actually get a ton of users will I consider that. And the rest of them, 250 million, is just sitting in reserve. So as of now, in terms of our plans for those, we don't plan on doing another fundraise for sure. We don't plan on selling any more tokens to like large whales or investors. If there are strategic partnerships, like I won't shill it here, but a few advisors are coming on board that we're going to announce next year. That would be a place where we'd sell tokens, but the majority of the tokens are going to sit in reserve. Now, with the new model that we've taken, it's, as what you kind of alluded to, because we're not a play to earn model anymore, because we don't need the incentives really anymore that a real money network had. We're strongly considering just burning them all, to be frank, because there's not necessarily a utility to us right now in introducing more supply into the market. Again, it's not something that we've done or have announced or really have kind of hinted at to our community, because we're giving ourselves the flexibility to see if something develops that we didn't anticipate. Since we're just kind of getting started here in this iteration, it gives us some flexibility. But gun to my head, I'd say most likely we burn them. And the tokenomics will be based on this limited supply of owning it to access events, burning and buying NFTs to access other partner events, and then using the token for microtransactions in the app to get various other upgrades that you'd be interested in as a user for using the app. One thing I will say that, at least as of now, is not planned is to charge the creators of clubs or tournaments VPP, because we want to make that as frictionless as possible, especially in the next 6 months here, to get as many people on board as possible. It is a great use for the token, but it's also a deal breaker that can make people say, I'm good, right? And what you want the app to do is to be sticky, to let people to try it easily, to say, okay, I love it and I want to keep using it, and then introduce utility after.
No, that's fantastic. And when I don't know if you can talk a little bit more about the NFT drop that's coming up. I don't know if that's been announced or not. I guess technically announced, but I don't know the details.
It was announced in 2020, 2022. Yeah, my community is if they watch this, I'm sorry. But they were kind of hounding me on it. It was originally, it was going to be part of our play to earn model. And we had pre-sold about 500 of them to our community, which they will still get. But yeah, this is kind of some of the artwork for it. We just took the dogs playing poker theme, and yeah, there's some pretty wacky ones in here. But what we're looking to do is to start the mint and sell them. It's still a little bit too early. It's once we have, I would say, at a minimum, 20 established communities using the app regularly inside clubs, would be a good kind of starting point, where that very minimum value that I kind of talked about would be realized and could be seen, so that the purchase decision people would be making would be far more informed than me just saying it, right? Because it sounds cool, but it also, people might be a little bit on the fence about it. But when you see all the different events all these different partners are putting up, then it makes it a more desirable asset. And people might just buy it, obviously, and not use it, like it is crypto, but I want to have that kind of utility there to access. Also, you don't necessarily have to use it as your avatar. There's my crypto kitty from a long time ago, my ENS domains, and obviously my citizen, which pretty stoked about the last couple of months on. But yeah.
Yeah, it's been a fun couple of months being a citizen. When did you guys join, or when did you join?
So joined December. I tried doing the crazy puzzles. I couldn't figure it out. The internet was better than me at those, so I bought one December 2021. I think pretty close to peak, like all-time high, but it's okay. And held it ever since. I knew I had a gut feeling that what Becker was talking about would like come to fruition more in the next cycle than the current cycle. So it's been really good to see the activity and all the different channels over the last month and a half.
Yeah, it's been super fun, and just all the founders coming in and just watching the, sort of like collaborations that are now like sort of like fracturing off, where you'll watch like, a guy from, this company talking to this game in the Discord, and then, you'll be on Twitter in a week and see that they have like a collaboration announcement. So that stuff's always super cool to watch. I'd love to, as we wind, get a little close to our end time here, I'd love to explore sort of like the gambling part of crypto gaming as a whole. Obviously, crypto gaming has been a super strong narrative so far in this. I don't want to call it a bull market, so I'm going to call it
Yeah, I know. We're
period
gonna
of.
like knock on wood, throw salt over the shoulder.
Exactly. This period of bullish time. Obviously, crypto gaming's been the belle of the ball. And sort of the gambling portion of crypto gaming, especially over the most recent time, we've seen a lot of interest go. How do you see sort of the gambling part of crypto gaming interacting with the whole, or just would love to get your thoughts on, a segment of the business that obviously you're interacting with every day?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I'm starting to see, GambleFi is like the term become more and more popular, and like I definitely think like narratively, it's going to be one of the strongest narratives going into the next year, into next year. I'd say that generally speaking, we kind of are unlucky in the sense where we're a card game that's existed for, over 100 years, right? So gambling on the outcome of a hand of poker for some reason is considered by these regulators in this bucket of gambling. However, if your game is whatever, right, a first person shooter or anything that exists under the sun that just isn't cards, right? Then you're in this more kind of gray, murky area. And I think that there would need to be some type of precedent set. So those games and the kind of GambleFi narrative around that and trying to create a whole payments network and potential wager network depending upon outcomes of different events inside each of these games. I would say for these companies, like, go for it, right? And I think that it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out, right? There's also, a huge boom that's kind of not quite as big at the moment, but was huge when I was getting started in esports, right? And creating various markets, people watching people play video games and creating gambling markets on top of that, right? Like that narrative exists. It's a proven market. So I think that side of the kind of arena is going to be super interesting to see how that plays out. I think from the regulatory side that, people need to just kind of know going in, what the risks are. They can choose to ignore the potential red flags, but that they should know that, if anyone tries to, like, for example, even if you look at like Rollbit, like they're licensed, right? They definitely are bending some rules, but they're not really breaking a ton. And they probably are on the radar of a lot of different regulators, but not necessarily top priority at the moment. But at least they're taking some steps to show that they looked into it. So if you're kind of starting something or if you're in it, consulting a lawyer is not the worst thing to do. I don't think you need to go full-blown legal opinion. One little tidbit is you can get a legal analysis for far cheaper. Legal opinion just means there's a little bit more legal binding to it. It's not like the law firm's really putting their reputation at stake, though. I don't think they're necessarily worth their weight. Sorry to the lawyers out there. But yeah, and then in terms of like narrative, just overall, yeah, I mean, crypto's a bunch of degens, right? Like we're betting every single day, really, when we're buying all these different coins. So like, there's just a great fit there. Making the gameplay fun and exciting obviously helps. Like, Axie really wasn't ever that, and no one would really say that it was a fun game. So if you have a fun game and you create a payments network and a wager network on top of that, I think those are three pretty solid recipes for success.
Now, while you were laying that out, I came to the, realization that I think has just been slowly dawning on me that it's all GambleFi. We've just figured out ways to, what if I could bet on the virality of meme tokens?
Yeah.
What if I could add like, gambling to first person shooters, even things like Axie. And now airdrop farming so hot right now. I'm trying to be like at least one step ahead where I'm just farming games like because there's this sort of this trilogy going on or at least little cycle between like games want daily active users, degens want money. So when they figure out a way to like reward like sort of like playing with like potential for like airdrops and stuff like that. But no, I think it's just interesting that everything's sort of becoming GambleFi.
Yeah, what you just said though is we could have an entire separate podcast on that because I did a whole lot of research into studying every part of Axie and all these different play to earn models. And what you kind of mentioned is also kind of like a word of caution because when we forayed into play to earn, we got that big boom in user numbers, daily volume. But then remember when you said like bear market, more people would come in to play poker? Like with this model, yes. With our old model, no, no one cared. It all evaporated. If you can't afford the prizes, then everyone just jumps to the next ship. So like it's a great way to kind of jumpstart things, but you got to have something to sustain it. So it is a good recipe for success for getting a lot of people interested. I mean, look at what all these L2s have done, like in terms of people just trying to get a ton of daily transaction volume to for airdrops, right? It's a good like playbook to get users and to get volume, but it doesn't mean you have a business yet, right? And we're still obviously far away from saying that we're a successful business, but there are more positive signs in trying to create something that people come back to and use for without us having to pay them. It's kind of like the opposite of like Web 2, where early days you have to try to show high revenue growth. With us, we're just trying to show high user numbers. So there needs to be a little more substance there. But I do think there's a ton of people out there who are all kind of focused in on seeing what comes this cycle in gaming. I'm one of those for sure, and that's why also, that's why I'm in NT.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think your new I would call it a philosophy even of the the B2B, if you want to call it that, of the clubs. I think that's a really good pivot, and I don't know if anyone's going to figure out the P2E model. It may just be one of those where it is a tool, and then you pivot because it's the tokenomics. If you're creating so much of this token forever, you either need more people coming in to back that up, and as soon as that sort of scale tips in that one direction, then it all sort of
Yeah.
unravels. So I think your plan is really good to have the club model, and it's great. I mean, I think if you're using some other program other than VPP, you may want to look at why, because this is a really good system, and it has a lot of different options that the others don't, and I think that's great.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. Yeah, it's been a crazy roller coaster over the last 7 years. Lots of ups and downs. I think, kind of V versus V1 and V2, this is showing by far the most signs of life. It's showing some promise. I definitely sometimes am a little jealous of when I'm watching these guys create first person shooter games that there's such a complex economy you can build on top of that, right? That's more complex than just cards. But at least, with what we're doing, we're trying to keep it simple and but be unique. But I'm excited to kind of see what comes out from other people and players in the space.
Yeah, funnily enough, the most successful and longest lasting play to earn model I'm aware of is actually one I learned from my dad, and it's from his insurance company. And so he has a little app on his phone that gives him like three daily tasks, which are all like physical fitness related. Like it might be like get up this many times a day and go on a walk or climb this many stairs. And he gets a few dollar credit on his insurance. And the insurance obviously saves money because they're writing less policies, or not writing less policies, but writing less checks to people who are having sort of these, lack of physical activity related illnesses. So, it's funny and he does it religiously. Like we'll just be sitting and he'll like, we're all watching TV and he gets up and walks outside and we'll come back and we're like, you did that because of your app. And he's like, yep, 100%.
It's actually kind of genius for the insurance. I think the thing with what you just kind of alluded to is a great point. It's like play to earn can be a supplemental tool, but it can't be the only thing. That's kind of what I landed on with it. So we'll see though. If someone proves us wrong, I'll eat my shirt. But right now, I think it's just tough to try to make money unless you're reliant on, I don't know, people buying in for no other reason than that. They like the name of the coin and they think it's getting hyped, right? And we all know that doesn't last forever. So we'll see.
No, absolutely. Yeah, as we wrap up here, Jared, did you have any other questions on your end?
No, man, I'm really thankful, Ryan, for covering the regulatory aspect, and I'm really excited. And look, poker is also one of those things that TV shows have been built around it. Movies, it's always such a fascinating part of Western movies, and it's something that sort of, at least here in America, I think is one of the most American things, even though I'm sure I don't know where it was created. I'm sure you may know that, but it's one of those things where you watch the movies like Tombstones, there's classic scenes with it, and it has such a really good TVP model, and I think it's one of the best things to spend some time doing. It's a lot of fun, and I appreciate you spending time with us today. It was really fascinating.
Yeah, no, it was great talking with you guys as well. I'd definitely say like, if anyone listening or will listen to this, wants to pick my brain on anything, I wouldn't say I'm not a lawyer, but I have a lot of experience with lawyers. So if anyone's in the channel and wants to hit me up, by all means. And then, but yeah, I appreciate it. I think that the kind of the aim here is to just try to crack the code here and figure out a way to create a business model and product that can become highly scalable, fun to use, and ideally make a little bit of money on the side. Wouldn't be so bad. So we're taking another stab at it, and so far it's working out pretty good. So thank you guys for the time, and yeah, I would love to get together either in Denver or wherever we kind of maybe where our paths cross, but in person. But thank you guys again for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Jared. Always appreciate you being on here, especially when we get into the legal weeds. Great to have someone who does it for a living on there to ask the smart questions. Ryan, real stoked that you're a fellow Neo Tokyo citizen, that you took the time to educate the audience today on what you're building. Super, super interesting stuff. I, for one, will take you up on your offer in the Discord to, learn a little bit more about that research you did around play to earn. I think there's a lot of lessons that, you can glean some wisdom for this new cycle.
Oh yeah, I wrote a 20 page like almost like dissertation on it of why Axie would fail. And then yeah, I could share it with anyone. It was super interesting to kind of go into the weeds on it. I mean, everyone kind of figured it out eventually that it's like can't give away free money forever.
Oh
So
yeah, I
yeah.
was an SLP. I was grinding for SLP. That's actually what got me into crypto, what got me into crypto gaming. I was
See,
reading
that's a good thing though, a net positive for like the whole space. I think that's the good thing about the play to earn models. It gets more wallets in, more people owning, right? That is the number one thing that makes us all more successful is getting more wallet owners in the world. So we'll see.
Totally. And like of the maybe 15 out of my personal network, who all got brought in through like crypto gaming, at least like two or three stayed when the post crash. Now I've
Dig
got,
it.
I'm sure we all got them, just buddies who don't even want to hear the word crypto or crypto gaming.
I got like five of those too. Yeah.
I like send them new games like once a year. I'm like, I know this is my one shot
Yeah.
before they're like, yeah, we don't want to hear
Oh,
it.
oh, oh. Well, this cycle will be different, right? Knock on wood. Let's hope.
Knock on wood. Well, it's a holiday week. We'll let you guys get on with your weekends. Thank you, thank you, thank you again for joining us. And thank you for the audience for watching and listening. And we will see you on the next episode of Interlink.